What up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are doing a book wrap-up. We are going to go over all of the books that I read in the month of November. This will be spoiler-free reviews. I will give a short little summary about it. I'll give an overall rating on stars as well as my spice rating so you know what to expect before entering the book, because I do read quite a bit of romance. So based on your comfort level, you have an idea before you head into the book. And then I'll also give at the end of this video my top 3 books from the month of November that I read. I read 23 books in the month of November. However, disclaimer, I say books, but a few of them were novellas, so don't get too impressed with that number. But 23 total titles we're going to be discussing today. My children are also currently feral, and in the other room, they do live here. So you may hear them even though I have the door closed and I'm clear across the entire house. They have quite a loud volume, so there's that. You may be hearing screaming in the background. They're being supervised by their father right now, so they're totally fine. It's just they're a little crazy. I actually was on Threads the other day, and there was this lady that posted, why is it more difficult to manage 3 toddlers than it is to manage 11 lions? And she said, signed a previous zookeeper. I felt very validated in that moment, knowing that somebody who cared for several actual animals felt that children were more challenging. So there's that. So we're going to dive right in because we have a lot to talk about. The first one is a spicy holiday novella. And this one is If You Give a Grump a Holiday Wish List. And the author's name is Einerson, which this is my first book from her. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on stars and 2 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Presley, who has previously requested to have the holiday season off far in advance, but her grouchy boss is unwilling to accept it. She compromises with him and agrees to work, but says that she needs to do it from her hometown and he needs to come with her, but he cannot let anybody know who he is. And while they're there, he has to help her complete her entire holiday wish list. Okay, so here's the thing. I am a sucker for the boss and employee corporate drama style romance. Those are among my favorite because I hate the phrase guilty pleasure, but that's what it feels like. It just feels like entertainment and fun, and that's the vibe that I love to go for when I'm looking for just an easy sink into it escape. So this book was right up my alley. It hit all of those notes for me. I absolutely loved the family in the background. I think that they had such a cute dynamic and it brought so much fun to the book. It's a super short read, so there are sections which most of the time with novellas, this happens where it feels a little bit rushed. And I always kind of wonder why authors rush certain sections and draw out other sections, because it tends to feel a little bit off balance. If you're looking for a quick and flirty style novella that gets you in the Christmas spirit, I would definitely recommend this one. And I believe it is on Kindle Unlimited if you happen to have that. All right, the next one is called Again the Magic by Kleypas. This one's a historical romance. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on stars, 2 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Lady Aline, I hope I'm saying her name correctly, who has a teenage love affair with one of the employees at her estate, and she has to make a heartbreaking decision to drive him away in order to protect him, but he doesn't know that that's what she was doing. He ends up returning several years later, and he is now a very successful business person, and he has his mind set on getting revenge on her for breaking his heart. I am telling you guys right now, I discovered Kleypas this year, and she has such a unique approach to writing. I absolutely love it. So if you like historical romances and you don't mind spice in it, I would just pick up any Kleypas. The entire Wallflower series is so good. There's something about her writing that just pulls you in and you do not want to leave. This one is incredibly high on the angst, and angst to me, I love it, but it needs to be done the right way or I'm completely frustrated. The way she does it just felt so natural and it was just so good. So I would definitely recommend this one if you're looking for an angsty historical romance and if you want to kind of take yourself on an emotional roller coaster. This one definitely has some very, very deep and thought-provoking moments. So it's not like a light romance by any means, but it was just so beautifully done and I just feel like the language was so timeless. All right, the next one was called Until It Was Love by Pippa, who is one of my favorite authors. And this is a spicy romance that I gave a 4 out of 5 on stars, 1 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Goldie, who is a former athlete who has turned life coach, and she's she's about to move out of country for the opportunity of a lifetime. Before leaving for that opportunity, she ends up having a run-in with one of her brother's teammates, and they've had words in the past, but he needs her to help him out in order to play up his image in the media. What I love about Pippa Grant is she just writes such great characters. They're so chaotic in a way, which to me makes them relatable because I'm chaotic by nature, so I just sink right into her characters and just love going on the journey with them. She always has deeper topics, but somehow keeps them incredibly light. Most of the time what I'm looking for is minimal angst, which I think she achieves. She does a great job of keeping it intriguing, but not making it so you're frustrated the whole time. The reason why this one's a 4-star and not a 5 is although it was really entertaining and I loved the characters, I felt like there was a little bit more opportunity with the plot having more substance. But overall, I think this is a great one to pick up. And this one is currently available on Kindle Unlimited, so if you happen to have that program, it's something that I think is worth downloading. The next one that I read was called Merry Little Hate Notes by Jennifer Peel, and this one's a holiday romance. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 on stars, 0 out of 5 on spice. So this one follows Holly, who has spent years avoiding her brother's best friend because he broke her heart. And she's been successful, which is surprising considering she works for his father's company. However, she finds out that he's being temporarily relocated to the same office as her, and she's gonna have to team up with him and try not to let their past get in the way. Okay, so here's the deal with this one. If you're looking for like a light, clean romance that gives kind of that Hallmark cheesy factor, this would be a great one to pick up. However, I felt like the characters were just a little juvenile for me. I just couldn't really connect with them. That was my only issue with this one, but overall, I think it was really cute. I loved the family in the background. So this is a good option and another one that's available on Kindle Unlimited. And I just want to, because now I've mentioned Kindle Unlimited several times and I don't want to just assume that everybody knows what it is, but Amazon offers a program called Kindle Unlimited, and I don't know the exact dollar amount that it is per month, but I do know they usually offer some type of trial, and I bet this time of year they have pretty good ones going. But it's essentially like you can check out digital books through Kindle Unlimited, and it's unlike the library, there's no expiration date, so you can just check it out and then whenever you're ready to return it, you can. There is a maximum amount of titles you can borrow at any given time, and I haven't been able to figure out what that number is because I swear that I read that it was 12, but I feel like mine lets me do up to 20. So I'm not sure. There is a limit on how many you can take out at once, but the catalog is so good. If you're into romances, historical fiction, thrillers, fantasy, they have such a good variety of books that you can pick up. And what I love about it is if I read like a quarter way through the book and I'm just not getting into it, I can come back to it at a later date or just return it and find something else, and there's no money lost. So between Kindle Unlimited and me using the app Libby for my library, I barely pay for books. So questions that I get sometimes is how can you afford to read this many books? It's because between Kindle Unlimited and Libby, I'm really only buying from my like auto buy authors, or sometimes what I'll do is if I really, really love a book that I read on either Kindle Unlimited or Libby, I'll want to support the author and I'll purchase it almost like a trophy for my bookshelf after. So I just wanted to touch upon that so it would give you the opportunity to kind of go research and see if Kindle Unlimited might be for you if you're wanting to dive back into reading. All right, the next one up was called Merry Christmas by Pippa Rain. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 on stars and 1 out of 5 on spice. This is a holiday spicy romance. This one follows Bryn, who is interviewing for a new job and comes face to face with a man she hopes she'd never see again. It just ends up getting worse when she runs into him at the airport, where she finds out that he's going to be vacationing with her family. So this book was actually sent to me by the author and publisher, but I am giving a complete honest review voluntarily on this one. I really enjoyed it. What I loved about it was it had such a festive charm to it. There's like kind of a Christmas competition happening with the family. There's like a snowed-in lodge type vibe happening to it. It's just one of those vacations in a book style. I really enjoyed the progression of the relationship, if you will, but I did feel like there could have been more substance to the reason why they disliked each other so much. I just felt like that part fell a little flat. So that's why it wasn't a 5-star for me. But overall, if you're looking to really get into like the holiday vibes and you're okay with spice, I would recommend picking this one up. also available on Kindle Unlimited. Okay, next up, Dream Girl Drama by Tessa Bailey. This one was another one that was sent to me by the author and publisher. It does not release until February, so just a heads up, but please get it on your list. I have said it in the past, but anytime a book is sent to me, it's usually a digital copy, and it would never impact my integrity. So when I share my reviews, they're honest, I promise. This one was so cute, and I did not love the second book in this series, so I actually was kind of like dragging my heels on diving into this one because the second one in the series was just not my favorite. I loved the first one in this series. I can't remember what it was called. Oh, Fangirl Down. I really loved that one. The second one, not so much, but this one, oh my goodness, 4.5 out of 5 on Stars, 2 out of 5 on Spice. This one follows Sig and Chloe, who come from completely different backgrounds and could not be more different, but for some reason they're both feeling a complete connection to one another that they cannot avoid. Unfortunately for them, they both go to dinner and find out that their parents are engaged to be married. So instead of taking on the potential romance they both expected was going to happen, they have to try and deny the chemistry that they both feel and come up with a way to support each other as future step siblings. The thing with Tessa Bailey is she's not always the most consistent experience for me. I found that I either like love her books or I am confused and let down by her books. I never have kind of like a mediocre experience. There's always kind of two extremes. This one was on the extreme that I want, which is that I just felt like her witty banter in this. There was like laugh out loud humor. The characters had such layers to them. The main girl, Chloe, she's very sheltered, very entitled. She comes from a wealthy background, so she should come across spoiled. She is spoiled, but she doesn't act spoiled. She doesn't act entitled. She's not bratty in any way. She had such a warmth to her that I just loved, and kind of like a deer in headlights that wasn't done in an annoying way. The only reason why it didn't end up being a full 5 stars, it was kind of like a will they or won't they type situation, and I felt like it dragged out a little longer than necessary. But that's just kind of nitpicky. Otherwise, I really think that this is a solid one, and I would definitely get it on your radar if you want to pre-order it. Like I said, it comes out early February 2025. All right, next up, we're going to go over a series, actually, and it's called the Under the Mistletoe Collection. It's an Amazon short story series. So most of the books, I think, ranged from like 40 to 80 pages, and they're a group of 5 different authors that came together to do these short stories exclusive for Amazon. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can download it that way. I'm not sure exactly what they cost otherwise, and I don't even know if they're available through the library. But anyways, the first one was called Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. I'm going to give ratings on these ones and just my thoughts, so I don't have to take up too much of your time today. So this first one from Ali Hazelwood, I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 on Stars and 1 out of 5 on Spice. I felt like Ali Hazelwood did such a good job with this one because there was a history between the characters on this one, and she did a really great job in conveying exactly how deep that connection was between them because of the history without having to review the entire background there. So I thought that was really great. It also just felt really festive and fun. It was a snowed in moment, which is just one of my favorites for holiday books. So overall, I think this was actually probably my favorite one from the entire series. Next one was from the same series was Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey, and this was probably my least favorite from the series. This one I gave a 2 out of 5 on the Stars and 2 out of 5 on Spice. I don't know what was going on with this one. So like I told you guys before with Tessa Bailey, it's like I'm absolutely in love with her book or I'm completely confused and let down, and it's the latter for this book. It just felt like almost the chapters were out of order, and there was such a intensity to how quickly the two characters end up together, and it just felt bizarre to me. There was no like tension that built up, and I know that it's a short story, but the way that she did it just felt very disconnected. So just not a favorite of mine. The other thing I want to mention too is in this book, there's like a 5-month-old that they end up like leaving on a bed and just like walking away from for like an hour. And I just thought that was bizarre. And then there's also a scene where she gets a ride from somebody and she doesn't have a car, and she takes her 5-month-old son with her. And I'm like, where's his car seat? Because you don't have a car. This person is a single dude. He doesn't have a car seat. So how did you get your child safely in that vehicle? And I know that's probably just like the most nitpicky thing ever, but did nobody think about that when they were going, like they could have just left that scene out. There was absolutely no need. But anyways, that's that. Next one in the series was All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. Also a 2 out of 5 on stars, 1 out of 5 on spice. This one was just awkward. There's also a situation where basically the whole plot is that the main female character has a crush on the main male character, but she thinks that he's dating her best friend. And I'm just like, how do you not know if your best friend is dating the guy that you have a crush on, that she knows you have a crush on? Like, first of all, why would you assume that your best friend would do that to you? And then why would you not verify the information and then just carry on for several chapters? I don't know. That was a little bizarre to me and not one that I'd recommend. The next one was Merriment and Mayhem by Alexandria Bellafleur. Hopefully I said that correctly. This one I gave a 3 out of 5 on stars, 1 out of 5 on spice. This one was short, flirty, steamy. It was cute. I feel like it was one of those things in a novella where I'm questioning, why do you put real estate into that topic and then rush another one type thing. But overall, it was cute. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my least favorite. It just kind of fell somewhere in the middle. And the good part is they're incredibly short stories. So if you want to pick something up just to get you a little festivity, this one might be a good option. The next one was Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Daria. This one was another 3 out of 5 for me, and spice again was 1 out of 5. What I really liked about this one is it's set in New York City and kind of has like an apartment building vibe where they're all kind of like having a holiday party together. So that whole thing just felt incredibly festive. There's also kind of discussion around navigating grief during the holidays that I thought was a nice touch. But overall, it just, I don't know, it just didn't grab me in any way, but it's not one that I would be like, you shouldn't read it. If you're looking for something fun and you're okay with kind of the miscommunication trope, because that's what's happening a lot here, this might be worth picking up. All right, the next one I'm super excited to talk about. It's called Heartless Hunter, and I have absolutely no idea how to say the author's name, but I think it's Kristen Ciccarelli. I'm so sorry. In advance, I'm so sorry. This is a romantasy, and I'm giving it 4.25 out of 5 on stars, 1 out of 5 on spice. So this one follows Rune, who has to betray the person she loves most and hide her true identity in the aftermath of that betrayal. In order to make her betrayal worth it, she's determined to save as many witches as possible. So she has to get close to a witch hunter in order to make her mission a success. It's like I was in a spell. Like, this book is about witches, and I felt like I was in a spell because it shouldn't have been as good as it was. The story is incredibly straightforward. There's really not like an excessive amount of world building whatsoever. And I am the type that I'm very new to fantasy. I'm not really into the style where it's super complicated and you need to keep track of maps and all of those things. But even for me, it probably should have felt like there wasn't enough detail and not enough building in it. But for some reason, it really worked. And I did not want to put this book down. Anytime I put the book down, I was just sitting there thinking about it and wanting to get back to it. So that's a sign of a good one. My favorite part about the book is the way that it was paced. It had such a unique timeline to it where there were sections that slowed down and then there were sections that built up. So it just felt like the chase would come at the exact moment you need to suck you back in. I don't know. It just felt very refreshing, and that one is available on Kindle Unlimited as well. Next one is another novella. This one was called Snowed In with Mr. Heartbreaker by Pippa Grant. This one follows a pop musician who recently had one of her songs go viral. She ends up going on a snowy vacation and ends up getting stuck with none other than her grouchy landlord from Los Angeles. She just wanted a way to run away from Christmas and be in solitude, but now he's in her space and she's having to explore the fact that maybe Christmas isn't so bad after all. I ended up enjoying this one a lot. There's like a snowed in thing happening where they're like stuck inside a cabin or a cottage or something, some type of snowed in situation. So for this one, the girl was a pop musician. The guy used to be in a boy band and has now turned into a famous movie star. And I thought that dynamic was so fun, but this was only a novella. I wish that relationship had been explored more in a longer book, because this one was kind of more about vibing out than plot. So there was a lot more about like Christmas and snowed in and being in the cabin and all of that than there was about the actual relationship dynamic or like them growing as a couple. So I think that I kind of missed out on that, but overall I think this is a really cute one, and this is one that you can pick up in Kindle Unlimited. I don't even know if I gave you my rating. This one was 4 out of 5 on stars, 1 out of 5 on spice. This next one is a proceed with your own caution. This is not for everybody, but this was The Kiss Thief by LJ Shen, and this is, I would consider it dark romance. Maybe I'm a wussy, but I think that it's dark romance. 4 out of 5 on stars for me and 4 out of 5 on spice. This one's a mafia romance, and it follows Francesca, Jessica, who has literally spent her entire life building herself up to be the perfect wife to her childhood sweetheart. However, her father has some secrets from his past that end up catching up with him, and she gets married off to a soulless senator in order to repay her father's debts. I really actually enjoyed this one. Mafia romances for me sometimes can be heavy on the cheesiness and cringiness, but I don't feel like that happened here. I felt like you got the drama, you got the angst, but it wasn't really super cheesy. This one definitely has very intense spice factor, so I would look up trigger warnings before you head into it. I felt like the characters were done really well, where you didn't necessarily like them, but you also found yourself rooting for them the entire time. And it's one of those ones when you just need like that chaotic, dramatic escape. It would be a good one to turn to. Also available on Kindle Unlimited. All right, the next one was called Holiday Hostilities by Katie Bailey. This one I gave a 4.5 out of 5 on stars and 0.5 out of 5 on spice. As far as I remember, there's not like explicit scenes in this one, but it's definitely more than just closed door romance. So there is like a touch of spice in this one. So this one follows Olivia, who's a flight attendant who's starting to evaluate her life and decides that she wants to live a little closer to her brother. But in order to do so, that means she also has to be near her brother's best friend a little more often, and she hasn't been able to stand him since high school. This was another one that was actually gifted to me from the author and publisher. There was so much that I ended up loving about this one. First of all, I am a very picky reader when it comes to the enemies to lovers trope. It's my favorite one. So I tend to be a little bit picky about it because I've read some really, really good ones. This one I think was done really, really well. The enemies to lovers was believable, but not cruel. That's the problem, is like sometimes it's one or the other. This one I think had the perfect balance. I also loved the hockey aspect to it, which is funny because I'm really not like huge into sports romances. I felt like the entire book was written in such a natural way. Like everything about the relationship, the build-up, the things that they go through, it just felt natural. Nothing felt forced. And if I look back on the year and all of the Christmas books I read, I think this is actually very high on the list for one of my favorites. All right, the next one that I read was called The Beast of Blackthorn Castle by D.K. Quinn. This one is a historical romance. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on stars, 0 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Emma, who recently lost her father and had to find out in the aftermath that he had left her absolutely no planning for what would happen to her after his passing. So instead of having to lean on his family for help, she decides to answer an ad for a companion position at a castle in hopes that it'll be the first step towards her independence. This one was just a really beautiful book. My favorite part of this book actually was the mother of the male character. She just brought such like a warm and inviting feeling to the entire book. I absolutely loved it. There were a lot of unfinished areas of this book, so that's why I couldn't give it a full 5. There was a couple of plot lines that seemed to just fizzle out to nothing. I needed some closure on it. So that part held me back a little bit, but overall this was just a really well done romance. It's a slow burn and it's set at like this gorgeous castle. I felt like I was there. Just overall, I think this is a good option. And it's another one that's available on Kindle Unlimited. All right, the next one is called The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. This one is a thriller. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on stars, 0.5 out of 5 on spice. So this one follows Sydney, who's had the worst time when it comes to dating, and she's on a date that has gone horrifically wrong when a mysterious man steps in to help her. She ends up running into him later, and they enter a relationship that feels like a whirlwind. She starts to get a little suspicious of some of his behaviors and starts to wonder if he may be connected to a string of deaths that have been happening. I honestly don't even know how I gave this a 4-star. I truly, truly don't. It was one of those books where I hated it the entire time I was reading it. The characters were insufferable. There was like bickering happening between couples, and they had been together for like 7.5 minutes. You're not supposed to be bickering this early on. That's supposed to be later in life, my friends. So that part I just couldn't do, but the twists and turns were so good. And the thing that I like about Frida McFadden is she sets you down a path where you are fully convinced that you have figured it out, and then she just completely like Uno reverses you. Like, what? So that's what happened here. It was just like a gripping story. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I recommend it or not, because I don't want you guys to be frustrated, but at the same time, the twists and turns might be worth your time. And it is available on Kindle Unlimited. So you could always try it out. And then if you're like, you know what, I can't stand these characters, I wouldn't blame you if you dipped out. All right, the next one is a historical romance novella called Unrequited by Martha Keyes. This one I give a 4 out of 5 on stars, 0 out of 5 on spice. Just a quick summary. This one follows Elena, who has spent years and years pining after a man. She wrote him a very embarrassing letter, letting him know her feelings, and he completely ignored her. He is now back in her life, but she is actively looking for a suitor, so she needs to set aside her feelings for him, knowing that he's never going to return the love she has for him. So this one, it dragged a little bit. It felt a little long for a novella, but there's some elements that I really loved. The main female character is actually Scottish, but she's trying to be a proper English lady. So she's having to kind of conceal parts of herself. I just thought that was really deep and thought-provoking as it was gone through in the novel. And I liked the conversations that were happening around it and the way that certain characters responded to her doing that. Overall, I think that it's a really cute, quick read, also available on Kindle Unlimited. Okay, you guys, the next one was called Silent Vows by Jill Ramsauer. I recently discovered this author and I just want to devour every single book she has. This one is a spicy, borderline dark romance, I would say. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on stars, 3 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Noemi, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, and she's basically been a prisoner in her father's house because she knows a little bit too much about something that he did to their mother, and she's decided to take a literal vow of silence and lets everybody around her think that it's due to a car accident that she was in. However, everything changes when she's suddenly promised to an Irish family via an arranged marriage with Connor. He seems to be a little too in tune with what she's going through, and she can feel her walls breaking down, but she's worried that she's going to ruin everything if she reveals the truth of what happened. This book, if you want a mafia romance that's just gonna knock your socks off, this would be the book for you. The characters were so gritty, but also so lovable. In the first book that I read from her, I kept thinking like, this is an organized crime family, and I was in love with them. And that's how I was with this book. There was some type of warmth to the family in this organized crime, and I'm like, how is this at all possible? But she pulls it off. It has everything that you want from a mafia romance. It has like the chaos, the drama, the betrayals, the backstabbing, all of that stuff is happening, but there's also this other layer that I just don't expect from it, where it makes it almost heartwarming. And the way that the characters were able to connect with one another in this one was just so refreshing. So if you're looking for a really well done mafia romance, I would definitely pick this one up. I'm so excited to talk about this next one, you guys. This one was called Gold Digger by Susie Tate, and I have not seen anybody talk about this, so I need you guys to get this one on your radar. This one follows Lottie, who's actually a cleaner, and she cleans the estate of the Duke of Buckingham. The Duke has a secret crush on Lottie, so he does things to make her life a little bit easier, and she figures it out, and they end up entering a romance, but suddenly she blindsides him with a betrayal, but he has to try and curb his bitterness towards her because she is now in business with his sister. I'm just gonna get the only reason why this was not a 5-star out of the way, and that was because I needed a little bit more grovel, but you guys, the rest of this book was absolutely unexpected to me. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. There was times when I was cackling, and then there was times when I was crying. I'm a little bit of a sensitive person, but it kind of takes a good amount to get me to cry in a book because I read so many books. There was such a great review of the balance of power in a relationship and kind of how wealthy people have a sense of being out of touch. So there was like a lower class versus higher class battle happening, and I just felt like it was incredibly genuine. He knew he was out of touch, she knew he was out of touch, and they kind of explored that together. Oh, it was so well done. I really want you guys to go read this one and then come report back when you do and tell me that I'm right. I did not want to put it down. I wanted to be reading it. It was just like pure entertainment for me. All right, the next one was called The Bonus by T.L. Swan. This is a spicy romance. I gave it a 3 out of 5 on stars, also 3 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Grace, who has been in love with her boss for far too long, and she realizes he's just never going to notice her the way that she needs him to, and she cannot allow her heart to continue feeling the way it does. So she ends up resigning, and they have a steamy night together that results in a couple souvenirs, and he wants nothing to do with her, so she's unable to tell him exactly what those souvenirs are. This is going to sound like the cheesiest thing you've ever heard me say, but T.L. Swan literally puts the toxic in intoxicating. Somehow her books I'm so frustrated with them the entire time that I'm reading, which is toxic behavior on my part, but I cannot put them down. There's like something about it, she traps you in. And I just spend the entire time like yelling at the pages because I get frustrated with the guy because it's not even like morally gray, it's like morally black. Like the things that they're doing are just outrageous and cruel and ridiculous. And then I get frustrated with the female because why are you putting up with that? And why are you acting like it's somehow your fault? Why are you gaslighting yourself? It's like I cannot recommend it, but it's also a vibe. Like if you're looking for that vibe of toxicity type thing, this might be the one for you. The plot was not bad in this one, but I just felt like it dragged out and got a little ridiculous at times. There's a little bit of kind of an unbelievability about this book. I don't think that's a word, but we're going with it. It's definitely not one you need to like drop everything and read, but if you're looking for one of those escape books where you can kind of just fall into a pretty easy to follow story, this might be the one for you. Also available on Kindle Unlimited. All right, we got 2 more to talk about, you guys. Hang in there. From Lukov with Love. I don't know if I'm saying that right, by Mariana Zapata. This one is a spicy romance. I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 on stars, 1 out of 5 on spice. This one follows Jasmine, who is a figure skater who has given her all to the sport, but has somehow never landed a championship. She ends up getting approached by her least favorite person, who happens to be her best friend's brother, with an opportunity to join with him to try for one of those championships. She knows that she cannot turn him down, but she's going to have to figure out a way to table the hatred that she has for him. If you've been present for any of my book reviews in the past, I've shared that I am the type of person who likes quick books. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the program where you do your taxes, okay? I'm not talking like I need them to be fast. I need them to be fast paced, and I need them to be gripping and captivating and things like that. Somehow Mariana Zapata pulls off a slow burn that is so slow, but still captivating, even though there's not that much going on. When I think back on this book, there's really not much happening, but for some reason, I just was in it. I loved the ice skating partners type of dynamic. It just reminded me kind of like of growing up and watching like the Olympics back in like the 90s. I really enjoyed the vibe on it. The plot was light, but I felt like the character development and the emotions that they go through ends up being a little bit deeper, so that balances out really well. Overall, definitely one I'd recommend, and is also available on Kindle Unlimited. The last one I am so excited to talk about. This one was one that was sent to me, and I honestly could not believe that it was sent to me because it's from one of my favorite authors. The way that it works for when you have like a book sent to you is you generally need to go on and apply to be able to review the book, and it's not always a yes. And I've applied to review books by this author in the past and have not been granted my wish. But in this case, I was. And it could not have been a better book because it's actually a Disney retelling. And not only is it a Disney retelling, but it's a retelling of one of my favorite Disney movies, Mulan. This one is called Worth Fighting For by Jessie Q. Sutanto. Hopefully I said her last name correctly. This one is not scheduled to release until June of next year, but please get it on your radar. This one is a romance. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on stars, 0 out of 5 on spice, so it is closed door, completely clean. So this one follows Mulan, who happens to work for her father's financial firm, and she has spent her entire life striving to be the son that she knows her father wants. Her father is presenting a new potential client for their firm, and Mulan has a lot of concerns about it. When he is suddenly unable to be a part of the process of getting this client, she steps in and tries to make his dream come true on his behalf. But she struggles because this client's company is very traditional and does not respect what a woman has to say when it comes to business. So I entered this book a little bit nervous because Mulan, like I said, is one of my favorite Disney movies, and this author has written some of my favorite books. I absolutely love the Dial A for Aunties book, and I absolutely love Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for, I don't think I'm allowed to say the word, but if you look it up, you'll know what I'm saying. Those are 2 of my favorite books. The expectations were high going into it, but I should have known. I should have known that she would not let me down. This was done so well. I loved the story on this one. I loved the angst on this one. I loved the female empowerment that was behind it. There was kind of this grand gesture situation that happens at the end that was just amazing. And what I think this author does just such a beautiful job at is the way that she discusses the Asian community and the way that she balances working tradition into modern day in a respectful fashion that's still progressive. I don't know how to explain that better. I'm not eloquent with words the way that this author is. This shouldn't have been as good as it is for a romance, but the way that she works through a lot of issues that I personally can't even understand was just really stunning. So I cannot recommend this book anymore. It was the perfect way to end out November. Get that one on your radar, put it on your Goodreads, whatever you need to do, because when it comes out, you're definitely going to want to read it. Okay, so now I have the difficult job of selecting my top 3 for the month of November, and I'm just going to say this. Worth Fighting For by Jessie Q. Sutanto would be my number 1. However, that one doesn't release until next year, so it feels kind of weird to be like, these are my top 3 that I need you to go read right away, because you can't read it right away. So just know that that would be my number 1, but instead I'm going to go with Gold Digger by Susie Tate. Number 2, I would have to say, was Silent Vows by Jill Ramsauer. And then last but not least, I would say Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. Okay, so that wraps up all of the books that I read in the month of November. I would love to know if you read any great books in November, or if you have any on your radar for the month of December. In December, I just want to focus on reading books that have been on my TBR list, to be read list, for far too long. There's some books that I kept snoozing with Libby that I really, really want to get into. And then I want to read a lot of holiday romances, but I want to specifically find historical holiday romances, because I don't feel like a lot of people talk about those. And I love discovering books that you don't hear over and over and over again from everybody else. So if I can find a really great book that isn't talked about that much, I feel like it's worth your time. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to check me out on Instagram at Kate Chapters, because I share a lot of book content over there that I think you would enjoy, and I would love to connect with some fellow readers, that is for sure. I hope I delivered whatever you needed when you clicked on that thumbnail, and I hope you have a magical day. Bye!